Hello world, and welcome to another episode of Revit 101. We're going to today be looking at Revit Freeform modeling using Revit 2026. The hope is that at the end of this you should understand how to import an image to trace from, how to manipulate and model in 3D using the different tool sets that are not the out-of-box walls, windows, and doors, and then similarly how to render these things and manipulate these things using the view controls within Revit. So with that being said, sit back, relax. When you're ready, go ahead and try to replicate this, and we will see what we see. So starting out with Revit 2026, I have already opened a new file, but if you're unfamiliar with how to do that, I'm going to close this one and start again. So we're going to use the start screen, Revit 2026. I'm going to hit new, and then it's going to ask me what kind of project do you want to do. Make sure it's a project, not a template, and choose multidiscipline. That's fine. We're going to hit OK. And again, I'm using everything straight out of the box Revit. Nothing has been tailored to my firm or to my school. So hopefully yours looks very, very similar, especially if you're downloading this as a student. Okay. Excuse me. So as I mentioned, you're going to use a floor plan to trace. Many times in your career, you'll have to trace something from a graphic versus having a CAD file, and this is the process that I use to do that. And so I'm going to use first insert, and then I'm going to link in the insert tab. I'm going to choose link PDF. And I'm looking for something that I recently downloaded. If you're a student, I've provided this download for you. It's a PDF file labeled BPAV for Barcelona Pavilion and dimensioned. We're going to hit open, and it's saying, okay, where do you want, how big is this thing? It's this big. I'm going to change the DPI to 300 because I want to clearly see the line work. So I'm going to place it just in the center there. It doesn't really matter. And then the very next thing I need to do is make sure that it is unlocked, which it is now unlocked, and then also that it is at scale. Now, because of the file I have provided for my students gives a scale dimension, we're going to use that. If you don't know a scale dimension, you could use the largest known dimension. So like the exterior of the building, for example. In this case, I already have a dimension, so I'm going to choose this image. I know it's chosen because it's highlighted in blue. And I'm going to choose the scale tool. I'm going to look at the closest, or zoom in, I should say, using the scroll wheel, and then click my first point, and then move over to the second point, which is, again, the tick mark for the largest known dimension. Click. And what you should notice is that right now I am scaling, so it's a start click and an end click, and now it's asking me, okay, well, how big is this thing in real life? I'm going to type in 179 feet 4 inches, and now this plan is at scale. So that's super helpful, I think, for those trying to scale drawings from an image. And I have another video in my channel that goes into much greater detail. I would encourage you to seek that out. All right, for the purpose of today's lecture, however, we're going to move forward with freeform modeling. Now, freeform modeling in Revit takes on, at least in my opinion, takes on in two forms. There is the architecture tab, component, model in place. That's where you're working within the real world Revit file. So you may have different models in here, different buildings, etc. So there's that. And then the second one we're going to show you here in a second, but let's start with this one. So we're going to model in place. And as you know in Revit, everything is based on family type. In this case, we're going to model walls. So I'm going to scroll down to the wall family type and hit OK. And it's fine. Actually, you probably want to be smarter about this than me and label these walls. But for right now, I'm just going to label them walls 1. It's totally fine. All right, notice that my toolbar changed, right? So I have access to the create ribbon, insert ribbon, annotate ribbon, view, manage, add-ins, modify, right? So those are the tools available to me within this model in place component or model component in place. And so these are my modeling tools available to me. There's extrusion, blend, revolve, sweep, sweep blend, voids. And we're going to go into voids in much greater detail, probably in the next lecture, or next video, I should say. But for today, I'm going to probably stick with extrusions. And the one thing I really love about Autodesk is if you hover long enough over the tool, they give you a small animation of how that tool works. So that's super helpful. And then if that animation is not enough to get you going, you can also hit F1 on your keyboard and you'll get a lot more clarity as to how to do that thing through an instructional video and a step by step. So I think that's very helpful. So I'm going to choose extrusion. Again, my toolbar has changed once again. And I'm now simply going to trace the things that I see on the drawing. Okay, so I'm going to use a rectangle tool. I find that to be the easiest to manipulate. And I'm going to start with this wall here. And I know that wall comes up because I'm familiar with this project and forms that rectangle. Okay, so that's what I've done so far. And so it goes from that edge to that edge, the entire length of this wall. It starts at the beginning of that one. But you're probably like, well, that's not how big that wall is. True, but I'm gonna show you how to edit these line work to get to the wall size that you need. So the first thing I need to know is how big this wall is. So while I'm in this create command, I'm going to step out and I'm going to measure this wall. And it looks to be about 6 inches, maybe 7 inches. Again, we're going to do our best with a scaled image. So let's say it's 6 inches because that's a little easier for math. And before we do anything else, I'm going to create an offset of this rectangle to create the thickness of my walls in the extrusion. So I'm going to use the offset command. That's this tool here. And then I'm going to type in a numeric value of 6 inches. And then I'm going to hover close to the line that I want, but notice that I'm not clicking, I'm just hovering because I'm going to hit tab. I haven't clicked yet, but in my left hand, I'm going to select tab and notice that it's selected all the connected line work. That's exactly what I wanted. So now that I have all that selected and I have that dotted line indicating where it's going to go, I'm going to click one more time and you'll see it made an exact duplicate of that rectangle offset 6 inches to the interior. So that's exactly what I wanted. Now I'm going to trim up this line work using the trim extend command, and I'm going to choose the line that I want to trim extend, and then choose the line I want to keep that will trim and extend to, and you'll see what's going to happen here in a second. You see that? That was pretty neat, I think. So that made a closed polygon on this end. We're going to go to the other end and do a very similar process. So we're going to choose the line we want to trim extend to, choose that line, and then just clean it up one more step. And what you'll now see is I have a big U shape. I find that to be a really easy way of manipulating line work instead of drawing point to point to point to point, but I'm going to show you that here too in a second. All right, so now I'm going to drag out, or I'm sorry, using an enclosing window, I'm going to enclose, so left click and drag, and enclose that line, and I can drag that over using a left click and hold, or I can use the arrow keys and nudge it, which is what I'm doing now, which is a really neat way of moving line work without actually hitting the move tool. So I think that's super helpful. The other thing I want to point out before we hit OK is, and again, the assumption is you're beyond the basics of Revit. You understand how the UI works. You understand how the browser works. Hopefully you've seen all of those videos and or my own instruction prior to this. So what I'm teaching you now is specific to the importing of the plan and the freeform modeling. Before you go any further, we kind of want to know how tall this wall is. I just happen to know that, at least I believe I know, that the Barcelona Pavilion is 9 feet tall, the walls. So where it's in the properties box, you'll see extrusion start 0. That assumes ground plane is 0. And extrusion end at 1 feet. I actually want that to read 9 feet. That'll make sense here in a second. Okay, so if I were not going to add any more segments to this wall, I would hit the green check mark and it would extrude a 9-foot geometry that I drew, that I modeled. But I know that I have a little bit more wall here. So I'm actually going to use, instead of the rectangle tool, I'm going to use the line tool. And this time I'm going to draw from the snap points. So right, this I'm going to snap to the end of that earlier rectangle I made. I'm going to come down here and I'm zooming in and out to get the accuracy that I want. And then I'm going to trace, and I'm just tracing, right? And I'm going to come all the way back. And then there we go. I just traced that wall segment, but I want it to be part of the original. So I'm going to do the trim extend tool. And now in that way, I've modeled this, at least, sorry, not modeled. I've traced the wall outline, right? And you don't have to model in plan. That's just what I chose to model in. While I'm still in this command, I can choose to a default 3D view, and you can see the line work that I've created. Now, unfortunately, because it's a plan that we're drawing, you won't see the PDF. But I think actually JPEG, if you imported the JPEG, you would see it, but because you're doing a PDF, you don't see it. But you do see the line work. So I'm going to hit the green check mark here, so you can see not only does it complete the closed polygon, but it also will complete the extrusion. And then there you go. Now I have a 9-foot wall segment. Now I go back to the architecture plan, and you'll see, hopefully you notice, that the wall segment is pochade solid white, and that means I cannot see the image below it, right? Because it's no longer a piece of the drawing. It's no longer it's a solid object. Now I can control this using these view commands at the bottom of the screen. Again, the theory is that you've already seen these, and this is not new to you. But if you have not, this is a refresher. And so the one I'm specifically looking for is this visual style icon. I can choose wireframe, hidden lines, shaded, consistent colors, textures, and realistic. If I want to see the plan below, I'm going to choose wireframe, and then now you can see the plan below. But if I wanted to choose hidden line, that's when the things disappear. So hopefully that makes sense. I'm going to go on and model a few more of these walls using the Freeform modeling model in place, I should say, component. And that should be a good start to get this thing off the ground. So I'm going to talk through what I'm doing, but at the same time, I'm going to speed up a little bit because, again, the basic principles of what I'm doing are things you already know how to do. I'm just showing you how to do it using Freeform modeling. Now, if I was done with all the walls, right, and that's these guys highlighted in blue, I would hit the check mark, right? And then I go back to 3D and I see them, they're there, they're great, they operate. Now this next piece I want to explain it to you, but I want to also explain the danger of it. Notice these little push-pull tabs on every surface. This is a freeform modeling tool. I can push-pull that in any way, shape, and direction I want to. That's great if you're designing, but if you're tracing something, you probably don't want to use those. So be very careful about how and when you use them. All right, and they work verticality too, and not just in the X and Y, but they also work in the Z. I'm gonna undo those things I did, and Control Z honestly is my favorite tool in Revit, or actually any software, because most of the time I make mistakes. So Control Z once, Control Z twice, 3 times, 4 times, and I think that will be it. Oh, sorry, I went back too many. So hit finish. All right, now go back to plan and notice that I'm tabbing through the views. If you want to see these views at the same time, you don't want to tab through them, you can go to the view tab, view tab in the ribbon and hit tab views. That'll arrange the views in a single window, or you can hit tile views. And that's what we have now. So now I can model, and you'll see the things show up in 3D in real time in 3D. All right, so here we go again. But since it's a wall family, and I know that I want them to be connected in the same family, I'm going to select that wall and hit edit in place. And now I'm going to draw a new model, same family, but new model. And then I'm going to use that rectangle tool one more time. And I'm zooming in. Now, depending on the size of your monitor, and I have a small one, so small monitor, so I often do not have both views open. I just trust that it's happening in 3D. But if you're new to 3D, then you probably want to leave this open, right? So I know it's at 9 feet because that was the previous set, and I hit OK, and notice it showed up in 3D. This is the first time, I think I've probably mentioned this in this series of videos, but you are building a model. It doesn't matter what view you build it in, but you're building a model. So the views aren't drawings, they are just views of a model. So I can close this 3D view, and that 3D view, the 3D model didn't go away, just the view of it did. And if I hit this little house up the top in this quick start bar, if I click that, then my 3D view is back. And then if I go back to view again and tile my views, then I have similar setup. I actually don't want it over here. I want it over there. And let's see, I messed that all up. Anyway, so I had to close it and open my 3D view again, default view, and then tile it. I'm not quite sure how to flip them. I'm sure there's a way to do it, but I don't know how to do it off the top of my head. So we're going to keep going. All right, so the other thing I want to point out is in this view, and this I've provided you previously a hotkey PDF for my students. I know they have it in their reference module, but if you don't have it, you can just Google Autodesk Revit hotkey PDF, and it'll take you right to Autodesk Learn website, and they have this thing. You can just download it. But you know, having used Revit now, gosh, for 22 years. Oh my gosh. I know a lot of them by heart. And so ZE is one that you use a lot. So ZE stands for Zoom Extents. And so you type in ZE, just Z and then E, and then it'll zoom in whatever view you're in, zoom to the extent of that view. So I'm going to leave this one at ZE, but I'm going to zoom in and out of this guy. So I'm going to select these walls again. Oh, I'm actually still in the wall family, so that's good. And then I'm going to model this one, and then I'm going to model this one, and that'll be done. And actually, this one in the middle, and I'll be done with these particular walls. So let's start with this one. Again, under Create, Extrusion. Let's see, using the rectangle again. I'll click the middle of that. There we go. Not sure why that didn't work the first time. Click. Now, I've been drawing these as separate things, but you could draw them as disconnected and they will still extrude at the same height. And I'll show you what I mean by that in here in a second. All right, so there is this guy, and sometimes this is a very fast way to model too, because you know they're all going to be the same height, same material, same everything. So you don't have to keep going back and forth and making new things. But you just also have to know that they move up and down together because they're modeled together. Same offset command as previously. Hit Tab to select everything, and then I'm going to clean up using the Trim Extend tool that I showed you earlier. Let's see. Here we go. And then, unlike last time, I'm going to do the zooming, and I'm going to use the move command. So I'm going to snap in on this one. I'm going to zoom in and moved it. So the move command works really, really well. Also, obviously, and then before I do anything else, so I've got those perimeter walls, that wall, and this wall. I'm going to model that last one, and you'll see what I mean, how they move as a unit versus independent. Okay, so there's that one. Even though they're still on the wall family, when I hit green check, notice how they all extruded together. Now, this is what I mean by unit versus family. Okay, so this wall I modeled independently of this one. These walls I modeled together. Now, if I pull these vertically, they all go together, even though they're 1, 2, 3 different entities. Does that make sense? This one I modeled independently of the others. When I pull that one up, again, it moves independent. So Control Z to undo that, and last point, same thing, right? So that's just something to be aware of when you're modeling using the sketch lines, which are the pink lines. I didn't mention those. The lines are pink in sketch form, and then when you close the polygon or close the model, sketch, they become black and white, and then also 3D. Okay, So I'm going to finish this one, and notice that that's not all the walls, and that's totally fine. But I'm going to finish this one from now, and I'm going to now show you the base. We're going to model the base. Okay, so finish the model. Now go back to plan, and I'm actually going to shrink this down quite a bit so you can still see it, but I'm going to use this screen for most of my modeling. All right, now I'm going to use the component in place, model in place, I should say. And then this time I'm going to be modeling what amounts to a floor, but I'm modeling the plinth of the Barcelona Pavilion. And we can get into plinth versus floor versus tiles on slab or sorry, on grade or whatever. But for today's purposes, I'm going to use a floor tool or floor family, excuse me, and then hit OK. And I'm going to again use the extrusion. And this time I'm going to snap to the walls that already exist and then manipulate that line work and trim extend. This is just the way I work. If you want to trace the whole thing from scratch, you can do that. But I'm saving myself, I think I'm saving myself a bunch of time. So I'm using the line tool and I'm snapping, snapping. I'm drawing in orthogonal directions. I'm not doing anything special to do that. Revit just snaps to orthogonal directions. So click up, and I'm just tracing at this point. Now, I think this is where those two lines join. So I'm actually going to use the trim extend tool to extend this line to that one and trim it and get rid of that line. So I just selected it and I'm hitting delete. And now all I have to do now is trace this little bit up here and the outline of this thing will be done. So here we go. So I already have that line. So where that line and that wall meet, I'm going to drag over, up, over. This, for lack of a better word, porch on the back of the pavilion is actually the same plane as the floor, even though it's a different material. So I'm going to go ahead and trace that out as part of my slab, or sorry, floor. And then I'm just tracing, zooming in and out to get my trace. And then finally clipping that. And notice the pink lines, which are the sketch lines. If I trim and extend, it's only trimming and extending the pink lines, the sketch lines, and nothing else. And then come back down here and do the same thing. And you can see now in the 3D view that I have a complete closed polygon. At least I believe it's closed. We'll find out. It won't let me finish if it's not a closed polygon. So I'm going to hit green check mark. Oh, what's going on? Something's not right. So it wants me to see something. So if you hit this show, and it's going to say, oh, so it highlighted this line in orange. That means I have an extension beyond the polygon. So it won't let me finish. So I have to trim and extend that, clean it up, then hit green check, and then boom. Now what it did, because I was not paying attention, is it used the last known extension, right? And it made it 9 feet tall. So it's engulfing all the walls that we made. In truth, I think it's a 3 foot tall plinth. And again, we're just mass modeling. So I'm going to change that end dimension from 9 feet to -3 feet. And what it should do is grow down, right? And I'm going to hit finish model. Now I'm going to close this view and zoom extend so we can see what we got going on. Right, so you now see the plinth, you see the walls that we modeled. These are different things. And notice that I'm not editing in place. I can still grab them and manipulate them. So that's, again, as a design tool, it's very helpful. As a drafting / analytical tool, that's a little, I would use caution because you will now no longer be faithful to the original intent. All right, so the last thing I'm going to show you in this episode, this video, is a Boolean operation using void forms. And void forms are super special in Revit, and I'll explain why here in a second. But in this particular case, we're going to use this, we're going to open the floors again, and we're going to edit in place because I only want to manipulate those floors. So I'm going to go back to and I'm using the browser. I'm going to go back to the floor plan, which is here. And what you should notice, and I have to do this in wireframe because my floor covers this, that there's a reflecting pool in both of these things, right? So what I'm going to do is with this floor is open, nothing else. I'm going to model in the reflecting pool. And so I'm going to use a void form. So instead of extrusion, I'm going to do a void form. And the void forms can be extrusion, blends, revolves, sweeps, all those things. In another video, I'm going to show you all of these things, but for today, we're only using the extrusions. So void extrusion, and just like with the solid masses, the voids are geometries and simple geometries. So I'm going to choose the inside of this wall, draw a rectangle to that point there, right? Okay, and now before I do anything else, so I learned from my mistakes, right? Before I do anything else, I'm going to look at the extrusions parameters. Right now, 0 feet is the start point. That's where we want it. But I want to go -6 inches because it's a -6-inch pool. It's actually, I think, maybe a foot or something, but when we get to materiality, this -6 inch will make sense. So I'm going to hit -6 and hit, but before I do anything else, -6 I'm going to keep, but I'm also going to draw the other one so they both behave the same, right? So there we go, and drag that up. And so I'm tracing the two pools. I hit OK, and what should have happened before I get there is it should have made a void, which is a Boolean operation, a subtraction of one mass from another. It should have made a void in the floor of the Barcelona Pavilion that we've modeled. So I go to 3D. Oh, look, there it is. Now, what's special about the void? There's lots of things, but what's special is I can, in just the mass of the floor, I can't really affect the shape of the void, right? I can make the floor do whatever I want, but I can't change the shape of the opening. But I can change the shape of the void, right? So that's those little grippy bits. So I can do that, which is really, really cool. And then I can also make it deeper, right? So now it's cutting all the way through. And if I want to change the shape, I can edit extrusion, and I can add a curve if I wanted to. That doesn't exist in Barcelona Pavilion, but you get the idea, right? So I'm changing the shape of this thing, and it changed the shape of the void. That's really cool, I think, anyway. All right, so what I'm going to ask you to do is to finish modeling out the walls, and actually, let's do one more. Let's do one more because I want to show you a different tool. So now Revit is plane specific when it comes to modeling, and so I'm going to show you how to model these stairs, right? Using that same void thought process, and we're going to have to count them to make sure we got our dimensions right. But so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 treads, right? All right. Now I prefer to model in 3D, but not everybody does. So I'm going to do this void extrusion again, right? But this time I'm going to set my prior to I had not set my plane, right? I just started modeling. It assumed I wanted to model on the level 1 plane, which is ground. But I'm going to choose now I'm going to choose a new plane. So I'm going to pick my plane. And I'm going to use this vertical surface of the plinth, right? And then I'm going to start drawing a closed polygon. So I'm going to start at the ground, right? And I'm going to come up 6 inches, and then I'm going to go over, I think it's a foot, and then I'm going to come up 6 inches again. So I'm 6 inches in the vertical, over 1 foot, come up 6 inches again. I'm going to go over a foot, come up 6 inches again. I'm going to go over a foot. You see, I mean, I'm drawing out the stair, right? Obviously. Now, there are 6. So I did not do this correctly. So the plinth should have been 3'6", and I did it 3 feet. That's okay. So I'm not going to do 7 treads. I'm only going to do 6, just so I can get the point across. But so there's 1 tread, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to do 1 more. 5, 1, 6. Sorry, 1 foot. And then 6 inches, and that should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, there's 1 more. You would think math wouldn't be that difficult for me. 6 inches, and then now I'm going to come all the way over and complete. Now, so I'm drawing in 3D now. And if that weirds you out, you can draw an elevation, right? So that's what we're doing here. But you know, I prefer to draw in 3D. So, oh, by the way, here is the view toggle in 3D, so you can look at different views of the project. I work in ISO almost all the time, but there's that. Okay, so I'm going to use a trim extend, just like I did with the other geometries, and then I'm going to hit. Now, mind you, here's the start and ends, right? Okay, so hit OK, and that's the void that we made. I know that's not right. I'm going to drag that out to what I think looks right, and then now we have our stairs. That's pretty awesome. Okay, so this is the things that you can do with a simple component model in place tool that will allow you to not use the base walls, windows, and doors, but to create architecture and design. I think it's a very powerful tool. It rivals and actually is better than most other softwares, SketchUp, Rhino, etc., because of the malleability or editability after the event. In other softwares, when you Boolean operation subtract from 2 separate masses and you make a mistake, you have to scratch the whole thing and remodel the original, remodel the void, cut the void. Here, I don't have to do that. So I think that's a super special thing. I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you can imagine the possibilities. Take care.